Your Excellency, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary of the Republic of Kenya, and Foreign Minister, Your Excellency, the former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who is also Kenya's candidate for the position of Africa Union Commission Chair, Excellency, the Chair of the PRC, my sister Khadija, Excellency, Commissioner Faki, Excellencies, members of the PRC here present, distinguished compatriots from the Republic of Kenya, distinguished compatriots from all over the continent, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening. I speak on behalf of a committee set up by the President of the Republic of Kenya to steer this committee. This is a committee that I co-chair with my brother, Ambassador Elkanah Odembo. On the 29th of July of this year, early on Monday morning, we were here in Addis Ababa. Elkanah and I and a few members of the team. We were coming to present formally the candidacy of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Excellencies, that task may appear mundane, but I want to tell you it was a heavy task. Heavy because if you know Kenya, you know that there are many people who are learned, who are experienced, who are qualified to serve anywhere and do anything around the world. But then, if you understand the African Union, and if you understand the provisions touching on the AUC Commission set out in the Constitutive Acts, and if you understand the statutes of the AUC Commission and the role of the chair of that commission, and if you understand the more than 26 functions of that office, you would realize that the task is mammoth, that the task is heavy. It includes, Excellencies, the task of representing Africa, defending Africa's interests, ensuring that the decisions of the African Union are complied with and implemented. It includes so much. And so even though there are many who may be qualified in the Republic of Kenya, as we looked at these responsibilities, and as we juxtaposed these responsibilities with the current global challenges and the place of Africa in this globe, there were only very few names, Excellencies, that the Republic of Kenya could present. And there was no better name to present than the name of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. He is the candidate of the Republic of Kenya, but he is also the candidate, Excellencies, of the East African community. You've seen from the video that has been played here that the entire East African community has come behind his candidature. Excellencies, when I was a young lawyer in the year 2005, the Darfur War was raging. And we as young lawyers were wondering why Africa could not speak to this predicament. I'm afraid still that part of the continent is still in trouble. But when we looked around, we said our parliaments need to speak to this issue. And as young lawyers, even at that time, we asked ourselves who in the Kenyan parliament could raise this issue. And one name came up in 2005, the name Raila Odinga. I was tasked to approach him. He opened his doors to us. He listened to us. He spoke to that issue. A man who listens to young people, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Excellencies, we know that the journey of emancipating Africa from economic domination is not a sprint, it is a marathon. The journey of empowering our women, the journey of realizing Agenda 2063 is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And I want to submit to us that Kenya might have one or two things to teach the continent with regard to marathons. And so we present to you a leader who's run the marathon, who understands the need for endurance, the need for resilience, the need for focused tenacity, the need to never give up, to never yield ground until it's done. The Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Your Excellencies, with those few remarks, it gives me the deepest honor to welcome to the stage my boss, the Prime Cabinet Secretary of the Republic of Kenya and the Foreign Minister of Kenya, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi. Let's put our hands together.
Okay, thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and more so, let me recognize Commissioner Josefa Sako and Madam Hadija, who have been to the podium as well. Friends of Africa, and well-wishers of Africa. Good evening. Before I make my remarks, let me also point out that I'll be seeking your permission or the permission of our Right Honorable Raila Odinga after he has made his remarks, because this is a positive environment for all of us and a competitive process, that if there is any of our other candidates present in this very honorable room, either for the position of chair or the position of vice chair, we would be happy after the presentation of the Honorable Raila Odinga for you to come and also greet this audience, because this is a friendly competition amongst brothers and sisters, and we'd be happy that we do it in a very peaceful and harmonious way. So let me go straight to the business of the evening. I am delighted to join this gathering of eminent representatives of all African governments to the African Union here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I warmly welcome you to this event hosted by Kenya for its candidate, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, to unveil his vision and priorities for the African Union Commission chairperson position. Indeed, it often gives me pleasure to speak at the headquarters of our esteemed regional body, the African Union. At the moment, the African Union has advanced to play a frontline role in global governance and African solidarity. As you are aware, the government and the people of Kenya, led by His Excellency President William Samoei Ruto, have formally endorsed the Right Honourable Raila Odinga as the most suitable candidate for the African Union chairperson. In this regard, on 27th of August 2024, His Excellency President Ruto hosted an event in Nairobi to officially launch Honourable Odinga's candidature. The event was graced by several African heads of state and government, and you are able to see it on the short film that was displayed to us. Your Excellencies, as the African Union gains global influence under the guidance of our heads of state and government, we presently need a candid audit of the AU's progress in order to spur our region into an organization that continues to serve the African people African agencies encapsulated in the vision of African solutions to African problems is taking shape. Similarly, there is need for greater focus on Africa's quest for a more just and equitable world order. I therefore reassure you that Kenya is offering a lifelong Pan-Africanist, an accomplished global statesman, demonstrated exceptional and visionary leadership. The Honourable Raila Odinga has inherent capabilities to amplify the voice and bargaining power of our continent. He has always offered his peacemaking skills to national and regional peace and security initiatives. Notably, Raila's strategic patience has fortified him as a peacemaker who has often forgone personal interests to achieve national and regional unity and stability. You may recall that Honourable Odinga served the AU as the High Representative on Infrastructure Development in Africa from 2018 to 2023. During his tenure, he mobilized African leaders and partners to scale up efforts to bridge the continent's infrastructure gap. Overall, in the Honourable Raila, we have a compact and complete leadership package that is founded on teamwork, boldness in decision-making, Pan-Africanism, and responsive to the collective and unique aspirations of each member state of the African Union. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am therefore honored to introduce the former Prime Minister of Kenya, the Right Honourable Raila Odinga, here at the seat of the African Union for him to engage with you and outline his vision and priorities, which are founded on AU Agenda 2063. I believe, Josefa, you'll clap for me on that one. The President, the government, and the people of Kenya wholeheartedly, and I emphasize, wholeheartedly, present to you one of our most celebrated sons to be the next chairperson of the African Union Commission. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to be upstanding, because it is now my singular privilege and honor to present the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to you, and thank you for your time and for being with us. Asanteni sana. The Honorable Raila Odinga.
Thank you. You may be seated. Your Excellencies, Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary and Secretary of Foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellencies, permanent representatives of member states of the African Union, the leadership of the African Union Commission, which is here, friends of the African Union, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Mes amis, bonsoir. Hamjambo. I am very delighted to see such a big audience here in Addis this evening. And I'm so happy to have been introduced by two very prominent African ladies here. It shows the women power of Africa. Allow me to begin by thanking all of you for making time out of your very busy schedules to come and listen to me and my vision for this great institution, the African Union Commission. I do not take your presence here for granted. I know that you have other things that you have prepared to do today, but you chose to come and be with us. I know some of you may know me as a politician, but allow me to introduce myself to you today. My name, as has been said, is Raila Amolo Odinga. I'm an African by way of Kenya, although my ancestors came from a place called Bahr el Ghazal in southern Sudan. I am a mechanical engineer by training, a businessman, a former prime minister, a grandfather of 5, a father of 4, a husband of 1, that I know of, and a lifelong servant of Africa, but you may call me also Baba. Many of you have heard of me because of politics, which, as you know, can be a challenge. Steadfast and uncompromising in my belief about our African unity. I was born into the spirit of Pan-Africanism as the son of a pioneering leader, Jaramogi Odinga, and under his tutelage, and guidance, I was exposed to the rich tapestry of Africa of exceptional leaders. I have witnessed both the continent's greatest aspirations and its most challenging trials. I have experienced the vision and dedication of the founding fathers like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Ahmed Sékou Touré, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Ahmed Ben Bella, and recently, Nelson Mandela. I have also lived through the collapse of that grand vision, and I have had occasion to watch as the world rapidly transformed, while back at home, we are developing at a slower rate. Thankfully, the vision of the modern AU as we know it was brought back to life by Presidents Thabo Mbeki, Olusegun Obasanjo, Abdoulaye Wade, and Abdulaziz Bouteflika. We thank them for their contributions. Indeed, Africa has given all of us the tools to succeed, which is why I'm determined to give back to Africa. And we're meeting here today in Addis Ababa. Addis Ababa is not the head seat of OAU or of AU by accident. This is the cradle of mankind. By contemporary knowledge of science, the oldest species of humanoids living around this region here, from Ethiopia down to Kenya. So here, you are back home. And they say that Adam was the first human being who was an African. This is also the oldest country in terms of governance in the continent. It was the only country that was not colonized. So what you see here is not a relic of any kind of colonization. Apart from a brief invasion by Italians, this country has always ruled itself. When they came here, they found an institution that was much older and stronger than they left back home where they came from. So you must be proud that Africa actually is the mother of civilization. When Africans were struggling, Ethiopia offered support for the liberation of Africa. And the liberation movement moved, and eventually colonialism was defeated. So there were centers, Accra, Cairo, Addis Ababa, Dar es Salaam. Those were the origins of African Organization of African Union. 2.5 weeks ago, we were here in Addis Ababa to come at the launch of the refurbished African Hall, where the Organization of African Unity was founded in May 1963. At that time, I came under a different category. I was invited as a descendant of my father, who was one of the founding fathers of the Organization of African Union. At that time, a big part of Africa had already been liberated. They were represented by presidents. But there was part of Africa which was not free, Kenya was being one of them. Kenya, Zimbabwe, Zambia, then Rhodesia, Mozambique, Swaziland, now Eswatini, South Africa, Basuto land then, now Lesotho, Bechuana land then, now Botswana, West Africa, now Namibia, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Sao Tome and Principe, and Cape Verde. So, in that congregation of the African leaders, presidents, the two people who spoke on behalf of the liberation movements, and that was Nelson Mandela, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. So now we were invited as the descendants of the founding fathers to witness the opening of that hall. That is why I was here last time. Now, my extensive travels across the length and breadth of Africa have exposed me to the enormous riches and unexploited opportunities in our great continent. I have also had the opportunity to serve the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa between 2018 and 2023, for which I remain profoundly grateful. But I have also represented the AU in other capacity. When Ivory Coast was in turmoil, the then chair of the AU, Mr. Jean Ping, approached me and asked me to be the African Union representative to mediate the crisis in Ivory Coast. I have also been involved in other peace initiatives in Burundi under Maldimu Julius Nyerere to negotiate peace in Burundi. I was also involved in Mozambique when there was a crisis, when the opposition had refused to accept the results and they needed somebody to go and bring them together. I was involved in the negotiations in Mozambique. So I understand Africa from other perspectives. But I was asked by the kind chair to be the High Representative of Africa on the field of infrastructure. And I know most of the representatives here from that perspective. This position gave me the opportunity to further appreciate Africa's myriad infrastructural and associated challenges. Here we were dealing with several infrastructure across the continent. We were dealing with trans-African highways, because Africa has got a elaborate program, PIDA, Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, with presidential champions for all these infrastructure projects. But there are several challenges that are being faced. That position gave me the inside story of what needs to be sorted out in the African Union. We were dealing with trans-African highways, the Cape to Cairo, the Tunis to the Cape, the Dakar through Bamako, Khartoum to Djibouti, the Dakar to Lagos, Lagos to Mombasa. Then you have the trans-African high-speed railway networks from Beira in Mozambique through Zambia, DRC to Lobito in Angola, and then down to Walvis Bay in Namibia. Then you have the trans-African high-speed railway, again from Lagos through the western coast all the way to Cairo. Then you have the LAPSET, the Lamu Port, South Sudan and Ethiopia corridor, which we later on revised to move the railway line from the port of Lamu in Kenya through South Sudan, the Central African Republic, Cameroon port of Kribi, to create a land bridge that links the Atlantic and Indian Ocean and opening up the interior of the continent to transport and trade. These were major challenges. Then we are dealing also with energy. Africa is the richest continent in as far as green energy potential is concerned. The green energy, the solar, the sun is here from January to December. Then if you've got geothermal potential in the Rift Valley, then you've got wind potential around the continent. You've got the huge hydro potentials in the continent. These are the areas. In the Inga Dam in Congo, you can generate over 100 gigawatts of power. And then you can use that to supply energy across the continent and lower the cost of energy in the continent. You have got the Southern African Power Pool, you've got the Eastern African Power Pool, the Central African Power Pool, the West African Power Pool, and the North. And you can interconnect these power pools and bring down the cost of energy to what is acceptable universally. In some places in the continent, like if you go to the Gambia, the cost of electricity is 38 US cents per unit. What can you do with that? In some places, it is 4 US cents per unit. So if you want to be able to process the raw materials that are available in abundance on the continent, you must address the issue of energy acceptability in our own continent. And that was one of the issues we dealt with. The issue of high-speed connectivity, fiber optics, was another one, to connect all the African capitals so that communication can become much easier and faster, and give our people access to the internet. Then the open skies was another issue. Open skies to bring down the cost of air transport on the continent. Africa is huge, and the infrastructure down on the roads and highways and railways are not yet fully developed. But you've got the skies, which are free. You don't need to construct anything. All you need is just construct airports and buy planes. That's all. But then there are barriers which have been put there. Each and every country has got their own air traffic control. And to fly the airspace, you have to get a permission and you have to pay. And this makes the air transport so expensive in Africa, where the air transport is mostly needed. The air transport in Africa is much more expensive than it is in Europe. In Europe, they have got one European air traffic control. And once you've been cleared, you can just fly. You only inform the other countries that I'm overflying, and you have no problem. In Africa, you have to wait days to be given a clearance if you are trying to fly with your own aeroplane. The other time, I was trying to fly from Dar es Salaam to Niamey in Niger for a conference. I was holed up in Dar es Salaam in a hotel for 10 hours because you must get an overflight clearance over Uganda, DRC, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Niger itself. At that time, I was going for the funeral of the president of Namibia. I'm sitting in Nairobi at the airport for 3 hours to get clearance over Tanzania, DRC, Zambia, Botswana, and Namibia itself. So these are self-imposed restrictions on our continent. This is what we call the low-hanging fruits that you can harvest without a problem. But these are still there as a challenge. These are some of the problems that we were dealing with when I was there. And saying that this means a challenge that we need to deal with going forward. Then, in the continent, we have the youth. The youth is the biggest asset that we have in our continent. African continent is a young continent because 70% of our youth are below the age of 35. This can be an asset or it can also be a challenge. Because the youth, if they are not empowered, they become a drag on the economy. They become drug addicts. They become criminals. And they become a drag on the economy. But if they're empowered with skills,
It should be back now.
Thank you. Thank you. So, our youth are the biggest resource that we have in the continent. But we first need to give the youth the requisite tools that they require to be able to create wealth for our continent. This is another major challenge to us. This is what other countries have done. It's what China did. China empowered the youth and gave them skills so that when they opened up their economy, the big manufacturing companies rushed to China because they saw there highly skilled and cheap manpower and also cheap raw materials. So you go to China, all the major manufacturing companies are in China. The automobile, Mercedes is there, BMW is there, Volkswagen is there, Peugeot is there, Citroën, Volvo, Ford, Toyota, Nissan, Hyundai, all of them are in China. In Germany, they tell me it is cheaper to manufacture a Mercedes-Benz in China and ship it back to Germany than the one manufactured in Stuttgart, Germany. That enabled China to move 600 million people from poverty to middle income status. So China is today no longer the cheapest destination because most of the people have become more affluent. A gap is left down there underneath which Africa can fill. Because China has the cheap raw materials, but those raw materials are made with original raw materials from Africa. They have cheap industrial materials. They have got steel, they have got copper, they have got aluminium. But all those are made with raw materials coming from Africa. So if you can do the value addition on the continent, then you don't need to, people don't need to go to China. Those industries will come to Africa. And Africa will become the next factory of the world. This is one of the things that I have in mind. This unity has undermined our ability to mobilize our resources, to catalyze the collective dreams of the continent's citizens. Africa's unity is therefore sacred to me. We must return unity to the top of our priorities as Mwalimu Nyerere and Nkrumah did. Without unity in a fast consolidating and changing world, Africa will continue to be marginalized, exploited and irrelevant. It is why today I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to open your minds to a new Africa. Imagine an Africa that's booming with industry, where businessmen and women from Bamako in Mali can take the transcontinental high-speed rail to trade in Kampala, Uganda, where the cotton material from Lomé in Togo can be bought online by our housewife in Lusaka, where African products can be bought in supermarkets across the world under the name of African brands owned by Africans, and the African workers and farmers are proud of their products. An Africa that does not require visas for other Africans. An African men and women who do not climb on a rickety boat or in an airplane cargo hold, risking their lives to go to greener pastures. I envision a continent whose progress is driven by its own people, that pushes to be a dynamic, influential, and respected force in the international arena. And here, again, the barriers which we place on ourselves. My friend Aliko Dangote, one of the most prominent African businessmen, tells me, Raila, it's so difficult to do business in Africa. I need 35 visas to travel across the African continent. Yet my French competitor does not need any visa. The French passport can go to all African countries. How then can you compete? How can you benefit by being African? You're being punished because you're an African. These are some barriers which make us look just stupid. In Europe, when I was living there, traveling in Europe was very difficult. You had to have a visa. When I was traveling from Germany to Britain on a train, I needed a visa to transit through Belgium or Holland, 2 visas. And if you did not have that visa, they put you back on the train back to where you came from. Today, you don't need a visa in Europe. The Schengen visa, you're going to go to any country in Europe. You only get, if you're traveling by road, you only get to know that you've crossed the border by seeing the different registration numbers. And so Europe has become a village. Why can you not do that in Africa? I intend to see that we introduce Africa, the AU visas, like the Schengen visa. So my leadership at the AU will not be one of the same rhetorics, where people meet a few times a year and return to their enclaves. My leadership will be pegged on the dreams of our forefathers, who expected that by now Africa would roar in one united voice. So here, we know, every year there's a General Assembly here. The jets come, land, and they move in here. Coming into these premises is not as easy as you came today. Today it was easy because you are coming to meet a candidate. Then those days there's a lot of security. Then there's a lot of talk in the halls here. Monsieur le Président, this and that, resolutions are passed, and off the jets will leave again Addis Ababa. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that 93% of these resolutions which are passed here are never implemented. That is by confirmation from Mr. Faki himself. So it has become a talking shop. I intend to change that to ensure that all the resolutions which are passed here are properly implemented. So we will not put anything in the agenda and the resolution if we know it cannot be implemented. And if it's not implemented, we'll have a very good reason to explain why it was not implemented. My vision for the youth is to place them at the center stage and driving force behind the innovation and change. Today, African youth are drowning on ships and boats, rickety boats, trying to get to Europe, going to greener pastures. It's a big shame that we're losing young, energetic people because of the poverty on our continent. So the solution is to change this by creating proper employment opportunities on the continent so that they don't have to leave the continent going to look for jobs where they're not wanted. You're ramped there as a refugee, you're taken there as a prisoner. It's a big shame. So these young people will find jobs here. Pick a vibrant cities buzzing with energy as young entrepreneurs leverage technology and creativity to build dynamic businesses. With AI and digital resources at their fingertips, they invent solutions for our unique challenges, transforming agriculture with smart farming technologies, revolutionizing healthcare with telemedicine, and reshaping education through accessible online platforms. Our young minds are not just participants in the global economy. They are leaders, innovators, and change makers. My economic transformation plan envisions an economically transformed continent, thriving on the richness of its resources and the unity of its people, a continent that not only sustains itself, but is a powerhouse of global trade. The African Continental Free Trade Area will be more than a policy. It will be a reality. Imagine goods flowing seamlessly across the borders, facilitated by advanced logistics and digital platforms, creating jobs, fostering innovation, and ensuring that no Africa goes hungry. My environmental sustainability plan envisions our rich biodiversity. It is protected, and our natural resources are managed wisely. In the face of climate change, we lead the way in renewable energy, harnessing the sun and the wind power to power our homes and industry. Our agricultural practices need to be regenerative, preserving our land for future generations and ensure food security for all. Africa is not the offender in this debate on climate change. Africa is a victim because Africa's emission is less than 5%, about 3%, somewhere there. But Africa suffers the biggest effect in this animal called climate change. Many of African countries today live between two twin disasters: floods and drought, El Nino and the sister La Nina. So floods, when the floods come, they destroy homes. People drown. Our infrastructure is devastated. Bridges are washed, and so on and so forth. And when the drought comes, livestock is dying. People go hungry. There's no food, famine, and so on. So first, we need to make our contribution to this agenda of climate change by greening Africa, rolling back the desert. But we are also the biggest arable land available today on the planet Earth. So we make use of what we have on the continent. But in the negotiations for compensation, if we go as Benin, as Cape Verde, as Egypt, as Senegal, as Kenya, they just look at you. I have been in those COPs. I was in COP 15, I was in COP 16, I was there in Copenhagen, I was in Cancun, Mexico. I've been in a number of those COPs. I was in Sharm el-Sheikh. Now I'm not going to Baku next week. It's Baku, and next year it is in Brazil. But it's a talk show. People talk and they keep on pushing you. They make promises of billions, but when it comes to contributions, nothing is happening. But if Africa negotiated as Africa, it will be a different matter altogether. But if you go as individual countries, you will keep on being pushed left, right, and center. And that's why we must have one agenda on this issue, climate change, and say this is what it is, these are our terms. Gender equality and inclusion. In this ideal Africa, gender equality is not just an aspiration, it is a reality. Women and girls are empowered, need to be empowered to pursue their dreams, leading in every sector, from technology and politics to education and business. African woman has made a lot of contribution in history. African woman is the breadwinner in most of African societies. She's the one who wakes up so early in the morning to go to the farm, to go and farm. She's the one who is looking after the children at home. She's the one who is also fetching water to bring at home. The one who is cooking in the home. And then in the evening again, she's the one who is the workshop. So African woman is a great enemy, a great human being. African women must be given their rightful space. They must be respected and empowered. We must ensure that their voices are heard in every decision-making process, creating a balanced and equitable society. Cultural renaissance. Let's envision a cultural renaissance in Africa. An African that celebrates its rich heritage while embracing modernity. Our art, our music, our literature resonate worldwide, showcasing our talents and telling our stories. Festivals and cultural exchanges thrive, reinforcing our bonds and inspiring future generations to cherish and promote our diverse cultures. Of course, with this ambitious dream, there must be a plan. This is why my campaign and my leadership have come up with an extensive technological innovation plan, utilizing artificial intelligence as its bedrock. In this future, we embrace technology as an enabler of progress. Cities are smart, utilizing AI to optimize everything from energy consumption to transportation systems. Education is accessible to all, with digital classrooms that open doors to knowledge regardless of location. Our health systems are strengthened through telehealth and AI diagnostics, ensuring that every individual receives quality care. But fundamentally, my rallying call is the leadership of Africa, that we join hands and make sure that no African is left offline. Every African should be online. And now let me conclude. A call to action. Today I invite each one of you to imagine this Africa, a continent bursting with potential and brimming with possibilities. As I present my candidacy for the position of chairmanship of the African Union Commission, I'm committed to turning this vision into reality. But I cannot do it alone. will take all of us, leaders, innovators, and every citizen working collaboratively to dismantle barriers, foster unity, and pursue excellence. Together, let us harness our collective power to create a future where Africa stands tall on the global stage, an emblem of resilience, creativity, and unity. Let us embark on this journey towards a brighter and more prosperous Africa. Africa is the richest continent on the planet Earth in terms of strategic raw materials that have made other parts of the world rich. The paradox is that the richest in terms of resources is also the poorest in terms of living conditions of these people. This is what we need to change so that African people can be rich people. We have been blaming others in the past, but the time for blame game is gone. Now is the time to act as Africans, and we take our destiny in our own hands, and we work collaboratively to uplift the living conditions of African people. There are those people who do not believe that Africa can develop. So they are what they call Afro-pessimists. Afro-pessimists are those who think Africa is a lost cause. But the Afro-pessimists, like myself, are those who believe in the ability of the African people to develop Africa. Africa will not be developed by foreigners coming to Africa. The foreigners will come to invest, not to develop, but to make money. But ultimately, Africa will develop with the brains and energies of the African people. And that's why you've seen the story I tell of the African lion. The African lion is a very resilient animal. And here the African lion is giving a message to the Asian tiger. And the African lion is, as you know, Africa, the lion is a revered animal. The Cameroonian soccer team is called the Indomitable Lions. The Senegalese soccer team is called the Lions of Teranga. The Moroccan national team is called the Atlas Lions. And in East Africa, we call the lion Simba, mfalme wa msitu. That the lion is the king of the jungle. When it roars, the other animals listen. So the African lion is giving a message to the Asian tiger. That you, the Asian tiger, you have danced alone on the stage for far too long. I was asleep in the jungles of the Congo. But now I'm awake. I'm surrounded by the mighty mountains of Kilimanjaro and Kenya to the east, the Atlas Mountains to the west, the rivers, the Niger, the Zambezi, the Limpopo, the mighty Congo, the Nile, and I'm sitting on African oil, African gold, African bauxite, African copper ore, African iron ore, African diamonds, and now have the knowledge and ability to turn all this wealth into prosperity and to liberate my people and make them rich and powerful and claim the 21st century as an African century. End of the message of the African lion to the Asian tiger. Thank you very much.
Ladies Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue to applaud. Yes. Let's please continue to celebrate him. He has one more thing to add. Give him a minute, please.
I'm very sorry. We have here Ambassador Selma Maliki from Algeria. Is she around? Yeah, maybe she might want to come and say jambo. Because, as you said, we wanted, if there was any other candidate in the audience, give them a chance to greet the people. But I've not seen any other candidate for the chairmanship. If there's any, none. For the vice, this is the only one available here.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jumu'ah Mubarakah. Hujambo. Good evening. Bonsoir and salamno. I consider myself very lucky because I'm here with you this evening, and I would like to say that I am grateful to Mheshimiwa Prime Cabinet Secretary and to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, for this opportunity. The fact that you have both of you have had the generosity to invite today all the candidates, and I happen to be one, for the position of DCP, while we are gathered today and this evening for the launch here in Addis Ababa of the campaign of Honorable Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga for the position of Chairperson of the African Union Commission, shows how healthy the spirit of Kenya is. So I think that needs to be applauded. I did not prepare a speech. I did not prepare a presentation, but I will just say that the inspiring vision that has been exposed today to us makes echo to the vision I'm offering to guide my action if I'm honored to be elected as Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission. And this vision is, you might know by today because, of course, I am campaigning, but I think that it echoes really what we've heard tonight, and it says, and I firmly believe that I will bring in new energy and healthier management to the African Union Commission to unleash the potential of the Africa we want, and I would say of the Africa we deserve. And this is, I think, what Right Honorable Raila Odinga wanted to pass as a main message this evening. So I wouldn't like to take much of this opportunity. Just to present myself, I am Selma Malika Haddadi. I'm the ambassador designate to Ethiopia and the permanent representative designate to the African Union and UNECA. I'm an Algerian citizen, an Algerian woman, a sister, a daughter, and a mother, and a Pan-Africanist believer. I'm the daughter of a country that 70 years ago has led a legendary revolution for liberation, for emancipation. So I think that is enough for you to judge what is my DNA as a diplomat and as a lawyer, as a colleague, but also as a member of a team. And this is what it is all about. Being a member of the Commission, a deputy chairperson of a Commission, is also to team up with the Commission under the leadership of the chairperson of the Commission, but also with the ambassadors, permanent representatives here in Addis Ababa, so that we make this organization greater, so that we make this organization achieving more and more and more, and be replaced at the center of the global agenda. Of course, I can go on and on to describe my vision, but I would not stand between you and the generosity of our hosts for this reception, just to say that I am really ready to serve, and my motto is the one that the Algerian founding father has said in 1963 during the first meeting, the first session of the then OAU, which is, let us all agree to die a little or even completely, so the African unity may not be a vain word. So let us unite all together, as has just been said by Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, so that we make this organization greater through its secretariat, which is the African Union Commission. I thank you so much. Just a word also to say that I wish all the best to all the other candidates for the position of DCP. May the best win, inshallah, for the best of our organization, and of course the best for the chairmanship of this organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam, for sharing your thoughts briefly. And ladies and gentlemen, at the very beginning, you remember me, I'm sure some of you at least, saying, democracy. I mentioned the democracy in the beginning. And this is the true representation, the manifestation of democracy. The Honorable Raila Odinga inviting someone else who is actually running for the same seat. And I think this is really, truly honorable. Can you please celebrate him with a round of applause? That is the kind of democracy I'm sure he's bringing into the African Union. And I was thinking if there are any other candidates in the House, we wanted to just check. He made sure he mentioned them, but in case, once again. No? Okay, great. So, thank you so much, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, for unveiling your vision and priorities, the Kenyan candidate of the African Union Commission chairperson, and I am sure you will all agree with me if I said his visions are outstanding. Would you like to join me in celebrating his visions? Thank you so much for that in-depth as well as wide-reaching and crystal clear message you have shared with us, sir. And of course, very humorous as well. It was very interesting, some of the things he said. Now, ladies and gentlemen, bear with us as we will take you through very brief messages, starting with a video message, and then we'll get to the cake and the dinner and a lot of celebration. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming a video message of His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki, the immediate former CEO of the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, and the former Prime Minister of Niger, endorsing the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for Chairman of the African Union Commission, and then Ambassador Orena will come back to introduce the other speakers. Please play the video. Thank you.
I would like to say a few words regarding Prime Minister Raila Odinga. I came to know him closely in various opportunities, but more specifically when I was head of NEPAD and he had been nominated High Representative of the African Union for infrastructure. And what really struck me was a combination of technical talent and political talent. We did a lot of things regarding the design of projects, regarding the implementation processes, and he was a man who gets his hands on the nitty-gritty and the complexity. And this is quite unusual to have this combination of technical talent and political talent. And that really impressed me a lot. And linked to the issues of infrastructure, he also connected to the context that can make infrastructure expand and develop in the continent, issues of trade. And in whatever region he was talking about, he had a good knowledge of that region, from north to central to west to southern. So I have an admiration for that capacity because it is a rare capacity. Et c'est ce point que je voudrais illustrer, cette combinaison entre une capacité technique et une capacité politique à voir les choses. Il y a peu d'hommes qui sont capables d'obtenir cette combinaison. Et quand on a ces hommes-là, il faut absolument en profiter pour le bien de nos communautés et pour le bien de notre continent. Et c'est pour cela que je tenais à faire ce témoignage. I thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A round of applause for Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki, a son of the continent who has served in various capacities, as was mentioned. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to recognize in our midst all the ambassadors and permanent representatives to the African Union. Please be upstanding so that you can be seen and recognized and appreciated. The men and women who help us to keep this institution of ours ticking and moving forward. Ambassadors, please be upstanding where you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those are our ambassadors, led of course by our chair, Hadija, Ambassador Hadija. Thank you, please be seated. Let me also recognize the other members of the diplomatic corps. Please be upstanding. Members of the diplomatic corps who are here present, those who support our ambassadors at the PRC, in the African Union and in the UN. Please, wherever you are, let's be upstanding. Thank you, thank you. We recognize the important work that you do. Allow me to recognize colleagues who serve in our institutions, starting from the staff of the African Union, those who serve in the United Nations, in the UN system, and in other intergovernmental organizations. Please be upstanding. These are the men and women who help us to deliver on the lofty aspirations of our people. Thank you very much. A round of applause. Excellencies, as I head towards the end of this session, allow me to say that in all our countries, our African, beautiful African countries, the people of Africa, those that we want the AU to connect with, do exercise their right and elect representatives to carry out the functions of governance on their behalf. And those elected serve in our parliaments. So allow me to recognize a few parliamentarians here present with us. And I will start with our host, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. We have Honorable Dr. Miheret Shanko. He is a government whip, he is a state minister, and he serves in the Ethiopian parliament. Please be upstanding so that we can appreciate you. Thank you. Let me also recognize in our presence a number of parliamentarians, young parliamentarians, who are led by their chairman, Honorable Kimani Kuria. Kimani Kuria, please come to the stage. And as he makes it to the stage, I would like to invite the following members of parliament to the stage. Imanga Wamunyima from Zambia, Honorable Ina Hengari from Namibia, Honorable Stephen Baba Kamsiyamo from Malawi, Honorable Vuyo Zungula from South Africa, Honorable Mohammed Kari from the Comoros, the Union of the Comoros, Honorable Hasena Lemalesian from Kenya. Please join us on the podium. And without much ado, and with your permission, allow me to give the floor or cede the floor to the chair of the young parliamentarians from across our continent. Honorable Kimani Kuria, please.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Prime Minister, our Prime Cabinet Secretary, and all dignitaries present here today. My name is CPA Kuria Kimani, a Member of Parliament elected by the people of Molo constituency in Kenya. I got elected in 2017 at the age of 28 years, now serving my second term. I also serve as the chairperson, the Departmental Committee of Finance and National Planning at the National Assembly. We were gathered here as young parliamentarians across Africa with a caucus called Africa Young Parliamentarians Network, which has membership of young parliamentarians across the globe, to discuss matters that affect our region. We were here to address matters of debt. Most of our countries, 80% of the African countries, have been ranked their countries in debt distress. We are here to discuss matters of anti-corruption and the new forms that anti-corruption has taken place, and make resolutions as young leaders, the solutions we offer when we go back to the parliaments that we have been elected to serve. One of our resolutions has been to stop illicit flows in our countries through enacting legislation on illicit flows, and especially on the areas of virtual assets. Digitization of our government programs. As we go ahead with taking over technology, we must make sure that all our government services are available online. Lastly, the budgeted corruption that is in our procurement system. This team has resolved to make sure when you go back to our countries, we shall enact legislation to have e-procurement, electronic procurement in our respective countries. Honourable members, when we were talking about this, and of course me being Kenyan and a great fan and a mentee of Baba, I thought that we are going to lobby our colleagues to come for this lounge, only to be surprised that Baba has not just mentored leaders in Kenya, but has mentored a few of these people that you're seeing here, leaders across the African continent. So allow me to invite a few of them to make just 1 minute presentation of what the experience has been in the interaction with the Right Honorable Baba Raila Odinga, starting with Honorable Imanga Wamanyima from Zambia.
Good evening, Your Excellencies. I'd like to ride on the protocols that have been established. As earlier introduced, I am Imanga Wamanyima, Jr., Member of Parliament in the Republic of Zambia for a constituency called Nalolo. I was elected when I was 29. I'm the youngest Member of Parliament in that National Assembly, and I serve on the Public Accounts Committee, and I'm the Secretary General of the Youth Parliamentary Caucus. When we stood here, when we arrived here, it was a very ecstatic moment. And when I sat there to hear Baba talk about Africa, it's like a living library from Cape to Cairo, and the agenda of the youth being part of his core message could only fortify the reason why we met here in Addis Ababa as young parliamentarians. Such an illustrious and industrious career as a statesman in Kenya, as a mediator on various fronts, and indeed even as a prime minister. His purpose in contributing to the African continent only could resonate with the journey of our president, President Hakainde Hichilema. And it is in this vein I'd like to state with a deep sense of conviction that as a parliamentarian from Zambia, we reaffirm our support for Baba. And this is not my position, this is the Zambian position. And we are really inspired, and we look forward to his success in the election in February. We cannot adequately describe with words the impact of his vision, just in a few minutes explained here, on what we would have as expectation. I'm deeply grateful for this opportunity, and I wish you a successful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from the Honorable Ina Hengari from Namibia.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm a little bit short, so let me just adjust this. Good evening, Your Excellencies. Please allow me to stand on the protocol observed earlier on by my colleagues and earlier speakers. As introduced, my name is Ina Hengari. I serve as one of the youngest members of parliament in Namibia. I was elected to office for the first time at the age of 23 in 2019. We are now in the middle of campaigns, 19 days to elections, Namibia, but I could not resist the opportunity to be here with you, Baba. Earlier this year, I met Baba in Nairobi, and we had quite the conversation, especially because the people that I come from, the Ovaherero people, and I'm sure many of you have heard of the 1904-1908 genocide that took place in Namibia and perpetrated by the Germans. I was quite excited as a young woman and as a young leader to have somebody in front of me who could recall and recount the events of the 1904-1908 genocide. So there are many things outside of Baba's passion for youth development and ensuring that young people have a place at the decision-making table. There are many things that also connects me and my people and my country to the leadership of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So you have my support, Baba, and you have the support of my people. Thank you.
Amazing. And now we hear from the Honorable Stephen Kamsiyomo from Malawi.
Good evening, Your Excellencies. I'm extremely humbled to be sharing this big stage with everyone in this room. My name is Baba Stephen Malondela Kansiamo. I'm an MP for Lilongwe Southeast in Malawi, and I'm the chairperson of the Youth Caucus in Malawi. I am a member of Public Accounts Committee, but at the same time, I'm the Director of Youth for the ruling Malawi Congress Party in Malawi. I am extremely humbled to see someone I've admired from a distance seated in this room. As you've heard, my name is Baba. He happens to be a namesake, Baba, but that's not the more reason. Growing up in Malawi, listening to BBC, you could hear about Baba in Kenya. And this Baba now is seeking to get into the highest office. Baba, you've inspired millions across the globe. You're a great son of the soil, the great son of Africa. As you move on, I would like to assure you of total support from Malawi. If the son that you're seeing speaking before you is a son who was once a street kid, an orphan who has seen opportunities go by because I didn't have someone in front to hold me. But through the grace of God, we managed to save and work hard up until we got elected. I got elected in 2019 at the age of 37. But as a son of a poor man, as a street kid who has listened through the ranks and a graduate of the University of Malawi, currently I'm studying Masters in Anti-Corruption with IACA in Australia. I would like, as you take into the new role, to think of the street kids who are out there, to think of the neglected Africans who are out there, to think of the future, and the future belongs to people like us, the people who've never had a name. We have millions of the youth out there who are looking forward to your expertise and your dedication to duty, to uplift their lives and to change the narrative that Africa has had. We now can have hope in a son who has always believed in peace, that the son who has always believed in unity in diversity is taking the central stage. Be assured of our support from Malawi and be assured of working with you as you take the desired mantle for the sake of the mother Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from the Honorable Vuyo Zungula from South Africa. Try to be short of time. Karibu.
Down with poverty, down. Down with poverty, down. Down with the exploitation of Africa's resources, down. Down with exploitation of our resources, down. Thank you very much. My name is Vuyo Zungula. I'm a member of parliament from South Africa. I'm also a president of a political party called the African Transformation Movement. Allow me to also join in the established protocols. We want to wish Baba well for his campaign. And in your speech, I think you made particular reference to how the resources in Africa do not benefit Africans. It is something that is problematic in our continent, that we are very, very rich in terms of our natural resources, but Africa has got the poorest of the poor people in the world. It is imperative that that becomes a thing of the past. It must change. It cannot be that 50 years ago we're talking about how our resources were exploited. Currently we are still speaking about that, and again we are hoping that in the next 50 years the language will not change. The second thing is that we need to build strong institutions that will resolve the conflict in the continent, institutions that will take the continent forward, institutions that will give confidence even to the people in the continent, that whenever there is conflict, trust AU to step in. It cannot be that when there's conflict, there's misunderstanding, people of this continent are going to look at other foreign institutions to help. We need to build capacity in our own institutions. And lastly, we want to have a peace and prosperity in all corners of the continent. There must be no reason why an African must die at sea trying to move to Europe simply because they are wanting a better life. They must have a better life here in Africa. We want to wish you well, Baba, and we hope that at the end of the day, Africa will win, because that is what brings us together. I thank you.
Viva Africa, viva! Viva Africa, viva! And now we hear from Honorable Senator Hezana Matian, a senator from the Great Republic of Kenya.
With all protocol observed, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Senator Hezena Lemalitian from Kenya, famously referred as to Baba's daughter, Baba's last-born. But I want to request Baba that I should not be the last-born, that he continues to mentor and empower young people. So I want to retire from the last-born position. I stand before you as a young senator in the Republic of Kenya, courtesy of His Excellency Right Honorable Raila Odinga's mentorship. I am from a very marginalized minority community in the northern part of Kenya. And as you all know, that an African woman, especially a young African woman going for any political seat is equivalent to swimming with sharks. But because His Excellency Baba held my hand, mentored me, and protected me from all the evils that affect women in the political spaces, I am proud today that my people who are very marginalized have a voice in the upper house of the Parliament of Kenya, which is normally referred to as, in almost every country, as the House of the Old. I take a lot of pride in associating with Baba because over the years, he has been a person of integrity, a man who is very kind. He has never segregated Kenyans based on tribes, based on social class, and that is why when we have demonstrations against our economy in Kenya, Baba is always the leader. When Kenyans demand for their rights, they always associate it with Baba, even the recent Gen Z protest, even when Baba is not involved. But I strongly believe that is because he has inspired a generation of Pan-African, young, strong Pan-Africans across the entire continent. And that has been made very clear today during our meeting with the African Young Parliamentarians Union Network, with the UNODC and AFRODAD, speaking on corruption and the fiscal policies in Africa, where we tackled a lot of problems and reasons why corruption is flourishing and metamorphosing each single day in Africa. But we realized that everything emanates from leadership. Because corruption does not swim, corruption does not have legs, corruption is the main cancer that is affecting our continent, and corruption does not see. It uses a medium called citizens of our respective nations. And in Africa we say, a fish rots from the head. That tells you we need a renaissance of African leadership, and I am very much proud to donate my Baba to the whole continent for everybody to enjoy and feel proud of what Baba stands for. A lot of times in our Kenyan politics, when we have had situations where sometimes we are hypocritical as political leaders, we do not stand for integrity sometimes because of the different politics across our different coalitions, that is the opposition and the ruling coalitions. Baba has a lot of times told me and reiterated that I should always stand with integrity. Even when sometimes I want to appear tough and abuse somebody in parliament, he always reminds me, my daughter, you have to stand for the truth at all times. So I have a lot of confidence that Kenya is offering the best of the best, the creme de la creme. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. It's a very difficult time to manage time with politicians. The Honorable Gitonga Mukunji, a member of Parliament from Kenya, elected by the great people of Runyenjes. Please take a minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Raila Odinga, our Chairman, African Union Commission, by God's grace, all protocols observed, all dignitaries. First, my name is Gitonga Mukunji. I am the Member of Parliament of Manyata constituency. And I am also the Chairman, Young Members of Parliament in Kenya. We are here today to wish you well. Honorable Raila Odinga, has mentored close to all the members in the Organization of Young Members of Parliament in Kenya, over 60 members of Parliament. I've been given a chance and I've been mentored by His Excellency Honorable Raila Odinga. And we wish you well. I've had your vision of ensuring that Africa is connected, and I know we need to actually connect Africa so that we can continue sharing, bringing everybody together so that Africa can be able to actually prosper. Without a doubt, I wish your team well. We want Africa, and Africa needs a Baba, because Kenya is actually has gained a lot from your leadership. We wish you well. Thank you very much, and we continue praying for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now lastly, we have Honorable Katabazi Francis, a Member of Parliament from our neighboring country, the Great Republic of Uganda.
Thank you very much. Like they've told you, my name is Katabazi Francis Katongole. I'm the Member of Parliament of Kalungu East in the Parliament of Uganda. I'm really excited. I would like to respect all the protocol to be here today addressing you and also endorsing Baba. Baba has mentored me without never ever meeting me. That is by proxy or by what, I don't know. But with technology, you know, when you have good acts, people will always look at being there. And today, I think I will have a chance of shaking his hand, and I think I might not wash my hands for quite some time. Because of the great work he's done, Kenya is almost my second home. I've been there my hustling days, and I remember very well the time when Kenya had some turmoil after he stood so many times losing in the controversial way, but afterwards accepting. You know, that means he's a statesman. Because statesmen, they look at the next generation. It is only politicians who look at the next elections. There is a time the late President Kibaki won him the second time. By the way, I was one of your supporters, but by proxy still, because I don't vote from Kenya. But when you lost, I was very disappointed. But then later, you agreed and worked together, I think in the capacity of Prime Minister and also Minister of Roads and and Infrastructure. And there is no time Kenya has ever had good leadership like that time, when two people who are like opponents came together to work for the good of the country, other than fighting. Of course, it's also my prayer that that comes to my country. But because with me, I belong to the opposition. I'm a member of National Unity Platform, and I support Bobi Wine. But that when it comes to Baba, whether my president supported him, we agree on principle. And there is nothing that will make me happy, like among the things you've spoken about, if we have a visa-free Africa for all Africans. That would be the greatest gift you can give us, and then the rest will go. Because why should somebody from Uganda pay $60 to enter Ethiopia, another African country? I think this is not good. We should think about it, and we have hope in you. May God bless this campaign, and I'm looking forward to seeing you as the new chairman of African Union Commission. Thank you very much.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, we would have been much more members in this gathering for Africa Young Parliamentary Network, but some of our members couldn't get a visa to attend this particular meeting. So that is something that I hope that you're going to work on. So Ladies and gentlemen, please also, we have Honorable Amira Sabeir from Egypt. Please stand up wherever you are. She's going to the airport, yes. We have Honorable Latifa Hamisi Juakali from the Great Republic of Tanzania. A round of applause. We have Honorable Harmony Bulombe from DRC, from Democratic Republic of Congo. We have Honorable Zanel Magagula from Eswatini Kingdom. Eswatini, yes. We have Honorable Homfo Epiphany from Benin. We have Honorable Abebo Desaleu Daktari from Ethiopia. We have Honorable Abratim Bata, PhD from Ethiopia. We have Honorable Bethlehem Laki from Ethiopia. Honorable Kemal Hashi from Ethiopia. Honorable Arare Masisa from Ethiopia. Honorable Bahambula Prince Bertrand from Congo Brazzaville. And you have the minister who had been introduced earlier. Right Honorable Raila Odinga, as a young people of Africa, we admire your charisma. We admire your memory. We admire you as a body of language. We admire your clarity of our presence. And you have no doubt of your vision for the future of Africa. That is why we support you. As I wind up, ladies and gentlemen, I also take this time to condemn, and hopefully that we shall all in our respective countries condemn the femicides that have been happening across the country. We've seen young women being butchered, and we must stand firm and end this femicide against our mothers, against our sisters, against our wives. There is no reason why anybody should kill a woman. Whether she cheats on you, whether she leaves you, whatever she does, there is no reason why they should be battered. Even murderers have a chance to be heard in a court of law. Let us stop the murdering of our sisters, our mothers, and our wives. Thank you, and God bless you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite to the podium the mentor of the young parliamentarians, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, for a photo with the young parliamentarians.
Please, the other members of parliament, please quickly come to the dais.
All the young parliamentarians, please, wherever you are. Honorable State Minister, please come forward. Take a picture. After we take this one, I think we could do with the Commissioner very quickly. Okay, yes. Okay, are we ready, please?